The Holocaust remains the most unspeakable crime in modern history. A new film, Sarah's Key, inspired by true events, tells the story of women and children in France being rounded up by the Nazis. Watch.
In July 1942.
On the 16th and 17th of July 42, they arrested 13,000 Jews, mostly women and children. They took 8,000 of them, put them in the Velodrome Behar in inhuman conditions.
Imagine the Superdome in New Orleans, only 1,000,000 times worse.
1,000,000 times worse. And then they send them to the camps.
With me to talk about it are Harvey Weinstein, co-chairman of the Weinstein Company, Aidan Quinn, one of the stars of Sarah's Key, and joining us from Paris, Tatiana de Rosnay, author of Sarah's Key, the best-selling book from which the film was adapted. Welcome to the show. Before we get started, I saw the movie, I read the book, I loved all of it. I'm just putting it out there. You should really catch this and read the book, too. But, Tatiana, the movie's based on your novel, which I just mentioned, Sarah Key. Tell me about the inspiration for the book.
I think through the book, I just wanted to convey the pain and the horror that I felt learning so late about all this in my life. You know, in France, we weren't taught about this at school. So I learned about it in 1995 when Jacques Chirac made his famous speech that I mentioned in the book and that you see in the movie. And it's when I learned about it more and more that I read about it. I was so shocked, so horrified, that I all of a sudden realized that I had to write about it. And that's how the two stories came to me. Julia Jarman, the American journalist investigating, and Sarah, the little girl with the yellow star whose life is going to be changed forever in July 42.
It reads like a mystery. But, you know, I'm wondering, for you two guys, are you surprised at France's role in all of this? I mean, it was kept a secret for a long time. Did it shock you that the French were so bad in this instance?
Until I got involved in this. I didn't know this story. You know, and I thought we'd done a lot of work, you know, on movies that dealt with the Holocaust as subject matter. But it wasn't until I read the book that I had any idea that this roundup took place under the authority of the French police.
Exactly.
And not the Nazis.
Right,
So,
and right under the noses of every French citizen in Paris at that time.
Well, maybe not under their noses, because some of them were complicit and cooperating, which was the other part of the story.
They saw them getting rounded up and being sent out. They probably thought they were coming back, maybe.
No.
Of course, they never come back. How about you, Aidan?
No. I mean, I knew there was complicity in a roundup, and just vaguely in Ireland. I think we studied it in history, but that was it. I didn't know anything about the details. And then I continually, in the reporting about this film, like recently in the Times, that there were hundreds of camps in France, and I am continually gobsmacked by what went on.
It just never stops.
Yeah.
Tatiana, why do you think it was kept a secret for over 50 years?
Well, you know, it's such a taboo subject. You know those terrible scenes when the children are separated from their parents in those camps outside Paris, that you could see that on the screen is almost like a shock, right? This is not taught at school at all. And in fact, a lot of people in France still don't know about that today, Bonne-la-Rolande, what happened there. So I think that the reason that it was not talked about was because it was such taboo, such shame for the French, that for a long time it was just like covered with a blanket. And now I think, you know, France is ready to look at that past. Children are taught about it at school, which was not the case when I was young.
Well, the Germans seem to have basically had I don't know, they've exorcised a lot of this, I think, and they've purged themselves somewhat, because they taught the children about the Holocaust in West Germany. Not in East Germany, but West Germany. I wonder if the French have really been on top of this. You think that they're really ever going to learn from this?
I made a movie a few years ago called The Reader.
Yes.
I mean,
oh, The Reader, yes. Oh, you think so, Tatiana? Go ahead. Let us know. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tatiana.
I think France is ready. I think there's another movie that's come out called The Roundup. I go to a lot of schools with Veldiv survivors and talk to students, and they're ready to listen. And I think it's very important to be doing that. And I think this movie is a very important movie. And I also wanted to say, Joy, by the way, that you have a happy author here in the sense that I think the movie really respects my book. And I wanted to say that because it's true that some authors aren't happy with the adaptations of their books.
I'm so glad to hear that, aren't you, Harvey?
That makes me pretty happy. Yeah. I dodged the bullet, Joy.
You were mentioning The Reader, which is another book on this topic. That was also a very I thought, professional way of taking the book and making it into a movie. They did a great job at that, too.
Since the reaction to the reader when it came out, what happened was, like Tatiana's book, our book, the reader is now taught in German schools, in all of Germany. I mean, this is a book that, you go to high school and you read it. It's mandatory reading.
Yeah.
And now Sarah's Key is taught in the French schools. So it's good that both countries have adapted this.
It's important, isn't it, to have films like this, Aidan, out there?
No, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think every country has its shameful past to deal with, and particularly when it deals with this situation, you've got to deal with it. Yeah.
Well, when they're rounding up women and children.
Yeah.
It's like it's.
Yeah.
It's just,